Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. This is Charli Matthews, and I know it looks a little different today. We are going to have a special episode where we are doing a PowerPoint. It'll be available for you to download as well as, on YouTube as you see it today. But I'm really excited because anytime I get to meet cool people, I want to bring that back to the podcast. But I've known Sam Lowry for many years, one of the first people in the pump industry that we hit it off, I'll say. And I'm just really excited to show that the people that I meet go on even after retirement to do some really cool things. So Sam, I'm going to let you start by introducing yourself, and then Dwight, who is also on the call with us, that I haven't met in person, but I feel like I know because I've been following you so long. So take it away, Sam.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Charli. We do have a couple of slides in here that a little bit of our background, and that's sort of part of the project, how it was started. But so that hopefully will come out in the presentation. This presentation was really sort of developed for Rotary Club. So it's sort of a general broad view. It's not that technical for the Empowering Pump group out there, but I did add, there are some slides, and certainly I'm sure Charli will have some questions. So I'll just go ahead and get into it. And the objectives, so we're talking about Senegal and western side of Africa there. And, on the surface, the project objective, the first one is very straightforward, just to get 5 deep water pumps into rural villages in Senegal that otherwise would not have access to potable water or ready access. So that's, plain and simple. We wanted to put 5 pumps in. But really, especially as an engineer, the second objective was to really demonstrate this life pump that impressed me. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but to really introduce it to the government so that if they're looking at putting in a pump, that they choose the right pump. And so that's it was a big part of it, that it's a government project, in a sense, a pilot project to introduce them to the pump and its capabilities. And also, though, to make this fully a project of Senegal, that somebody there would know how to install them and maintain them. So really, the rule was that we wouldn't come in and with drill teams or other than for the purpose of training. So I'm showing one of the pumps that the typical pump that's there, the affirmative pump. And when we were there, these 2 team members were trying to get water out of it, and it the proverbial squeezing water from a turnip, I think is the right cliche. So a lot of these pumps fail, and what happens is what you see on the right, that typically women and children have to bring water from fairly long distances, and it's polluted water. So that's the alternative that they're facing. Now, when I went over this presentation, I thought, I sound like a salesman for life pumps, and in a sense, I guess I am. I believed in it, but how I got into it was by reading an article when I retired in 2016, and I worked as I was the president of Cimerix, which develops simulation software for pumps, and not progressive cavity pumps in particular, but certainly familiar with them. And I read this article that impressed me both, in terms of its humanitarian value and also the unique capabilities of this pump. And so that got me. I was retired. That got me looking for some way I could help. And this is the article, that specific article is listed down below if you want to look at it.
Yeah, and Amelia, she went over there. I remember reading her story, and she was so inspired by the experience that I don't know if she's still working there, but she also got involved with the life pump and the outreach project after writing this article. So I think it was really, really great how that tied in, to the experience and what it does to you to go out.
Yes, it was truly an inspiring article, again, both technically and from the humanitarian point of view. And so that was the seed of the idea. This was 2016. I talked to a Design Outreach. I have nothing to do with developing this pump or whatever. It's Design Outreach, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But so this pump is superior to the current hand pumps in Senegal. And I have a slide on what a progressive cavity pump is if you're not familiar with it. But on the upper right, you see, if you're actually watching and not just listening to this, it's a comparison of Life Pump with the pumps that are currently used in Africa. So the Life Pump's able to go 3 times deeper, which right there, if the water is deeper than 50 meters, the other pumps won't reach it. So there's absolutely no benefit in having those pumps. They also, typical pumps, legacy pumps, 1 out of 4 will fail after 4 years. So the failure rate's high. They're more complex. So the Life Pump, though, has an expected lifespan of 30 years projected. And they're Life Pumps that have been in the field working since 2011 without any breakdown. So the maintenance cycle is fairly long, any sort of maybe replacing a rotor or something if need be. They are easier to use, and by design, they will degrade instead of fail. And I'll address that when I get to the slide on progressive cavity pump. So a progressive cavity pump is it's a wobbly thing or something. It creates these pockets that it squeezes them, squeezes the water up, if you will. Of course, you have to, below 10 meters, you can't suck water up. You have to push it. And so, that's what this pump does. It twists, and it has, by the way, it's the interaction between the rotor and the stator creates these pockets and pushes them up. And so a couple of key features there is the connecting rod is rotating versus going up and down like a piston pump would have. So you're not having to expend the energy to lift a 100-meter, if you can imagine, 100-meter rod of metal. Most of your energy would go into just lifting the metal, not the water. There are also no valves to fail. Now again, I'm not an expert on progressive cavity pumps, but the trick really is to have a tight seal, because down at 100 meters or 150 meters, which is how deep these pumps can go, you've got quite a pressure difference, and so you have to have a nice tight seal. But even if the seal gets old, it's still going to pump. It's just you're going to have to work harder to get the same amount of water. Any questions, Charli, at this point? Or
I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. So I kid Dwight because he's more the humanitarian side than the engineering side, and he loves Excel sheets. But I think the key point here is and by the way, engineers out there, please check my math and everything, but pretty much high school physics here, that to raise a mass of water so many meters, it's a pretty simple calculation to figure the energy involved, and then how fast you're raising it, that's how much your power, so joules per second. So this Excel sheet here is just set up with that calculation. You take the mass times gravity and height, and then consider how fast it's going. So 100 meters to get 2 gallons per minute is 131 watts. Now, this is perfect. This is not, well, certainly for a pump that would have valves and connecting rods that you have to move, you'd have to be spending a lot more energy. And there is friction involved in a progressive cavity pump, and you got to overcome that friction. But ideally, that's not such a big number. And so you're looking at, for 2 gallons per minute, 130 watts. And, is that a lot? You think about a light bulb, but, how much energy does it take to run a light bulb if you're turning the crank? I did a quick, right before this presentation, Wikipedia says that the adult good fitness, 50 to 150 watts on average for an hour of vigorous exercise. So you see you're well within the range of what an adult can do. And typically it's going to be not an adult, it's going to be probably women and children that are doing this. So, and it's linear in the sense that if that's too much, you just slow down and you get 1 gallon per minute. So, That's so these are very efficient pumps by design. One of the things that I think really got us the grant and or helped get us the grant and start this project, and that made me comfortable with it, is that this is an Experience Design Outreach, which is a nonprofit organization that has designed these pumps and builds them and installs them and promotes them around the world. They've already got, as of when the slide was done, 250 light pumps around the world. And so this is the map as of 2022. So these pumps are out there. They've been working without any problems. So they're really a proven technology. So we went to talk to them about how we might be able to help. And sort of the agreement was that, well, we're not going to get in your way in countries where you've already introduced them. The idea of a pilot project, we'll go into a country where they haven't been introduced to your pump and introduce it under a pilot program. When I say pilot program, I really mean the idea is not just we're going in there convinced, or we're going in there to test the pump, to really put it in deep conditions and this and that, really to demonstrate to them that it does do what we're claiming. Because everybody will claim great things, but it's until you get it and see it yourself that it's going to convince you. So this is where really Dwight, somewhat later, time goes quickly, that introduced the idea of the project to him, and the idea of
2019, I believe, Samuel. 2019 is when we started this.
Yeah, but I think the grant was actually, but yes, you're right. You're looking at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we discussed it, but we actually then made contacts and literally sent it at the 11th hour in June. I'm pretty sure that's right. I may be wrong on that, but and then we were awarded the grant that following January. But we chose Senegal because they have a good track record of really government involvement, and they certainly, like pretty much most countries in Africa, they have a need. So, and how are you going to put this together? Well, Rotary, Dwight's an experienced Rotarian, lots of connections, and so we decided we'd put together a request or a grant proposal, and we were awarded the proposal. This was all in the time of COVID, which in some ways actually made it easier because we could do things through Zoom meetings like this one, and it kind of actually delayed things. So we were a little better position when we finally went over there. Of course, the key to something like this is having a strong team. And we were very fortunate in that, there are places where it could have broken down easily. I think, you get a contractor and you want to make sure you get a good contractor that knows what they're doing and they're going to stick with it. So quick look at the team, just to give them credit. So a global grant, and Dwight, I'll give you a chance to jump in here in a bit, but for a global grant, Rotary, they'll provide matching funds. You have to have a host club, and then you have to have an international sponsor. And Dwight's from the Westchester Rotary Club, was the international sponsor. Life Pumps, of course, was key because they develop it, but they also agreed to support us by providing hardware and training, basically at cost. And the Office des Forages Ruraux, which is basically the office in charge of rural wells, they agreed early on to meet with us, and they approved the project. And I'll probably repeat this, but the idea was that they would choose where these pumps went. That, this is there. We're trying to get them to take, be involved with it. And of course, the local governments as well, once they picked a site, very important to make sure you work with the local government there. This was in Kédougou, which is in the southeast of Senegal. And then Batifor, which I really can't say enough for the effort and the expertise they put into it. They weren't experienced with this, but it was a show they kept at it. And I think they're fully trained now to put in additional pumps if O4 wants to, and also to maintain them. So just some pictures here. Here, the Car Rotary Club, which has been very welcoming and key. There's Sabina on the left, was absolutely key in helping us make contacts and identifying and working with us really, or we worked for her, I think, in some ways, and then the Westchester Club. So design outreach, again, absolutely. They're the ones that designed these pumps. And so you'll see some of the personnel there. And Ray came over the last round and trained everybody on how to put in the pumps. And Ray's from Michigan. And I don't think he was quite ready for the 100-degree plus heat that we were working in, humidity. So but he hung in there and survived and trained them. And it was, again, key to the project. So early on, we've done 3 trips there. The first trip was very formal. You can see putting on a coat and a suit rather, and meeting with the O4. But they, again, were very receptive and surprised us how quickly they moved and said, yes, we want it. And we've identified 5 villages. And so, and we continue to work with them. They have a new director, and so they again are responsible for these projects, water projects. Just more really showing credit to the local government there that helped, and the mayor, and then the chief of one of the villages, and Batifor. They were chosen for the project really with the help of O4 and Sabina. And again, the object was for them not only to install them, but really to learn how to install them. And so their expertise is drilling, among other things, drilling wells, which is not, I've learned, trivial. There's a lot involved in drilling the well in terms of equipment, and also, how you put the pipe down, how you put the screens down, what kind of gravel, how big the holes should be. And so they really demonstrated their expertise. So the work, there were 5 villages chosen initially up on a ridge. And this was great because we really wanted to test the pump. And this ridge is, I forget, like maybe 200, maybe 300 meters above the plateau or the valley. Very picturesque, if you can see the picture. And so that was our target. We had 5, they were going to try to put the pump into 5 villages up on the ridge. And so this shows a Google Earth view of those villages, and spread across I'm going to go back, I don't know, 3 miles across the top of the plateau. But this next video is they spent, I don't know what, Dwight, 2 weeks or something trying to get the rig up, having to repair it.
By the time you add up all the challenges and delays that, of course, some of them just come with the territory. I think 2 weeks is maybe 10 days, but close enough.
Yeah, and these guys are out there working in 105-degree heat, welding, and they finally had to get a bulldozer to try to do it. And this video, I don't know, Charlie, if you've seen this video or not, but
yeah.
So they had the bulldozers in front pulling the rig. The rig initially actually skidded back and was damaged on the first try without the bulldozer. And even now it was touch and go. They had to improve the road to the extent you see, but it's like almost like driving on snow.
That's the biggest challenge that I see is in some of these areas, is just to get the equipment out there to even create the infrastructure needed. Absolutely demonstrating that.
And I think that's also one of the challenges of these projects, because when you're planning them, you don't know you have a road problem until you get there. But anyway.
Yeah, this was the first attempt of in this
They
area.
did. They actually, at the end of this day, they got that rig up on top. And then Easter Sunday, we got the news that they had to do several more things, and then like they burn out the clutch and all sorts of things, but they kept at it on Easter Sunday. This is shows the drilling operation. You see the dust because they're drilling through solid rock. And unfortunately, it turns out that they're drilling through solid rock because there was no, they didn't hit water. They drilled over the next, I think it was actually, several months. Dwight and I went back and said, call us once you hit water. was really no point in us staying around. They drilled 6 boreholes across the plateau to 150 meters, which is the limit of a life pump. So no point in going deeper. And then finally, they had to conclude that the plateau was too high, or the water table was too deep for a hand pump. They did, they thought that the water would be at 70 meters, and that's what 04 was counting on. But the contract actually was a fixed price contract. So Bachelor that agreed that they would drill until they found water for 3 pumps. We started with just 3 pumps, focusing on that. So that they kept at it, and 3 new sites were chosen kind of off the plateau, not too far away, and fairly near the city of Ketagoo. So we went back once we heard that they had hit water. We went back this past September, we being Dwight and I and Ray, to teach. And so this one shows, this was, I think, the second, maybe the 3rd pump, but it doesn't, this shows that now Bachelor's team was the one that's putting in the pumps, all, using the manual essentially. So there were language challenges to some degree, although we had a excellent translator and sort of our social liaison, Vincent, who translated. And we're talking at least 4 languages, right? Yeah. Wolof, the local Bedu, did I get that right, Dwight? And then
Talking Badik.
Badik, yeah, and then or English, and then Senegal is a French colony, so French is the official language. And then once the wells were in and working, it was everybody wanted to come and for the dedication. That link up top is in French. It's a organization, agency of Press Senegal, and so there were several news organizations there. The mayor and the prefects are in the picture, and it was very exciting. And this is the mayor where he's trying. So if you're watching the video, you'll see he and Vincent, our translator, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but he's thanking us for our efforts. He says how grateful the people are. He's sorry that he can't give us more than just thanks. Of course, that was all that was sufficient. And but also he hints at the idea that maybe a follow-on project other than hand pumps to get water up to the plateau, because we did. So you can see the water flow. You also see how easy it is for him to do this.
He thank all the team of Rotary Club, the American who contributed for help them to get water and
Very good.
Okay, so in the interest of time, now this one, this was an unsolicited testimonial to the how glad the villagers were in this particular village to have a pump, at least. It's almost over, but they were, people were dancing, and of course, everybody was very happy that the pump was up and working. I think, until you do it, I think they were skeptical that, somebody said they actually were surprised that we came back. And, again, a lot of that tribute to Bachelor and the people there, but, and then this is Sabina. I just wanted to include this one to tribute to her and her effort. She just left. She was on the left there when you.
I think Sam said so, but Sabina's with the Dakar Soleil Rotary Club, and was really our liaison as the host partner for the Rotary project.
And yes, thanks. And this, to me, this is the most moving, because we went back. We're going to go back and put a plaque on the pump, and Dwight took this video, and this was unrehearsed or whatever. This actually was the pump in action. You see these young children are gathering water, and I'll have the statistics, so I'll talk about it, but they are really using, in this particular village, Afia Magazin, they are using the pump. You'll see them, it's a little hard to see the flow rate there, but they fill the pump up or rather the bucket pretty quickly, and then they switch out and on to the next bucket. And think back to the picture of the small children carrying buckets on their head, a mile from the stream. So,
and it's the difference in between the polluted water.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I
So-
remember seeing that. It almost brings tears to my eyes because it's just such a reward to see that finished product and it be so easy for the children to get the water.
Yes. And, remember, this is a pilot project. So we want to go back and document, if there are problems, we want to document that. If there are successes. And so part of this is really engineering slide here, but, you start on the left with a life pump installed, and they have a satellite link that provides data on the pump, the amount of the volume of water being pumped each day. And of course, have a local water committee or contact there. And so the information gets passed to O4 and also back to design outreach. And then if something comes up or there's some issue down at the bottom, BATI4 engineering might hear that the pump is not producing the way it's supposed to, and they'll go out and take a look at it. And then in the center of all this is the Rotary Club, and that's where the reporting and everything, sort of the taking organization of keeping it sort of going. So data on the performance of each pump is provided, and this is what the data look like. Again, I apologize for all ignore the small numbers. This is a bar chart for September. On the left is the hours. They like to report it in hours, but they can also tell you what the volume is. So it's the top line there would be 5 hours approximately. And if I included for this particular village in September, 9,000 gallons were pumped. And I think a small backyard swimming pool is like 25,000 gallons. But if you think of 300 gallons per day, and then go back to the children carrying it on their heads on the right, how many buckets each day of 1.5 gallon buckets are you going to have to carry? And they're getting it right here. And so, these data give us some indication of whether it's maintenance, what the status of the pump is, but also, how it's being used, whether it's working. So, and the last couple of slides really is, this was, we emphasized to really O4 and people involved with it, the government over there, that, this is not, USAID coming in, some big, well-funded organization. Now, Rotary International, and Dwight, I didn't give you the chance I said I would, but Rotary International, the global grant, you want to talk to that a little bit, or
Dwight, tell us a little bit about why you got involved and how and what's tell us more about your organization.
Sure. Well, I'll begin with how I got involved. So Sam and I have known each other for so long that we don't want to talk about it anymore. And when we get together, we often sit out on his back porch, which is in Maine, in Rockport, Maine, and perhaps enjoy an adult beverage and talk about things. And Sam brought up that he had seen the article in Empowering Pumps. Actually brought it up, I think, a couple of years. And in the last year, I relented. And in 2019, I think that's when we first said, he brought up that he would like to, do this project. He'd like to get them installed and was thinking about ways to do that. And because I've been in Rotary for a while, I suggested the idea of doing a global grant, getting funds from the Rotary Foundation, along with other people, and it kind of spun off from there. Just very quickly on Rotary, some of your listeners may know Rotary. Rotary International has been around since the very early part of the, I think 1918 maybe. Today they have about 2.1 million members, 265 countries of the world. Essentially Rotary is all about doing humanitarian service in water, in education, in disease prevention. Probably they're best known for their efforts to eradicate polio on the planet, which we've almost done, not to digress, but we only have Afghanistan and Pakistan are the only countries left with polio in the wild. Back to the project here. So I suggested that, and it really went from there. Sam, he'll correct me here, I think, but I think Sam found that Senegal was a possible opportunity for us as a place where these life pumps were not currently being used, and that we could suggest that they consider them. And then it was basically using my connections in Rotary right up to the Rotary International Board of Directors to get contacts in Senegal, to start raising funds. And then, as Sam has done a great job listing the various people we talked to. And then when we eventually we got the grant was approved by Rotary. And they contributed funds, and this presentation is the result.
Yeah, and the point I made to the again the government over there and was that this was really a I don't know if you call it grassroots, but in terms of donation, the target for the proposal was about 90K, and then Rotary International matched that with about 50%, not quite, I think. So the whole project, I think it was like 135. People often say, well, how much are the pumps? Well, at cost at the time, price has gone up, in case Design Outreach is listening, because it has, materials are more expensive, but it was $10,000 per the actual hardware. Now that included spare parts and the equipment to actually install it. And so they do an excellent job of manuals and everything. So that's the cost per pump, except we were sort of surprised the biggest cost is actually well, maybe it's not surprising, drilling a hole down 150 meters. And that was about 18,000 US. Now, if you look at the work that Batty4 did, that was I guess, looking at the attempt to try to put it up on the ridge and whatever, and there may be ways to reduce that cost. But so, people say, well, how much per pump? Well, for the 3 pumps, it was about 18,000 per borehole, and then the pumps themselves, and then of course travel and miscellaneous. So, but this thing it's really from the kind of at the top, grade A, the larger donors down to smaller donations, but we really like the fact that it was a whole range of both. You see on the left side there, the district, clubs, corporate NGOs. I don't know, are you corporate empowering pumps? We put in green, and then individual donors. So it really was a group effort, and we certainly thank. So where are we now? That after our 3rd trip, we're back. The pumps are being are working, and we're monitoring and going to prepare like a 6-month report on how it's impacted the villages. So 3 light pumps are successfully operating in Kédougou. Not as deep as we had tried it initially, but they're working, and the people that get the water don't really care that it doesn't come up from 150 meters, right? So there are 2 uninstalled light pumps. They're in Batty4's yard there. They've been paid for, and but we pretty much use the funds for the first 3, but that's not as bad as it might sound, because what the idea is that we want the government to step up and either fund 2 new boreholes, or they can also do something like retrofit existing boreholes, because you saw that one pump that they were trying to milk for water, that maybe you can, a pump that's not working, that's broken or something, you put a life pump in. And we do have people that have followed the project and been enthusiastic and offered additional funding. Now, these global grants are set up that it's really a closed. The funding is sort of fixed. But we have people that would be probably willing to give money for the last 2 boreholes, or we look and look at the plan to put a different project to put money up on the plateaus. So that's something that we're looking at right now. But that's kind of 2 possible uses of the money that people are willing to donate in support of basically getting water to these people. Dwight, you have add something to that, or?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, we're looking at our options. We have some, as you say, we have some funds available. We have the interest. The only thing is, I do tease Sam, if we thought we were going to go to Senegal, install a pump, and come home and have cake and ice cream, that apparently is not the case. Once you get into this water business, you're in it for good, apparently. So we're gonna, we're talking even this morning, I think, about where we might go with this. And it's still a little bit early in that game because we just completed the other 3 pumps, and we have talked to a number of nonprofits about futures, and we'll see how that develops over the fall.
I'm laughing here because, Sam, you didn't tell him once you got into the pump industry, you don't ever get out.
That sounds very ominous.
Yeah.
Apparently, but I had no intention of getting into the pump industry, but I've been dragged into it kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
That's
I'm glad you
true.
were, or we wouldn't have seen it. I'm giving you credit for the social presence as well, of going over and taking video and getting Sam in pictures and videos. So I appreciate that piece of you attending for sure.
Yes, no, Dwight has been he is key in presenting the project, and we do, some of it, as I say, a pilot project. We're not just going to neglect it. We want to monitor how it's going and get. We do have good contacts there. Vincent, our translator. And he actually is from one of the villages. He's sort of our eye on the ground. Then because we do, if we want to present this, we don't want to just keep it closed, present it outside of Rotary and present the results to relevant organizations. So Charli, we're looking for good meetings to go to, and
Absolutely.
the audience would be relevant. I mean, we enjoy presenting it and to a wide range of groups, but the idea is to build on the leverage to success. And again, thank you to everyone who made this possible.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to say, there are already people that have followed this journey. So we do have articles on Empowering Pumps where when we first started the campaign to raise the money to send pumps over to Senegal. And so there's several stories already. And so this is not a final by any stretch. There's still work to be done, but we can celebrate that these villages did get water, and their children aren't having to, and women and children aren't going to have to walk so far to get their water. It's right there in their village, and that definitely gives me joy. And I'm so proud to have been part of that. And our community was also part of that. So definitely not doing this alone. Even our donation was not alone. So I know there's people that already are interested in the project is what I mean. And this is kind of giving them that information. And so for my podcast listeners, I really wanted them to hear about the project. Maybe it sparks inspiration. Maybe it's, they've thought about getting involved, or they wanted to give back. And this is a way that combines so many different elements. So, of course, the pump industry, the water industry, helping the women and children, sustainability, and different ways of figuring out how do we reach those more difficult places. Because sometimes when like they said, we're surprised that you came back, because I'm sure there has been people that have come and have tried and quit. Right. And so I'm just really excited to have given them that hope and also the water. So Sam, I have always enjoyed your flow charts and Excel spreadsheets. I learn each
Thank
time.
you. That means a lot to me.
Yes. And so
Not everybody does. So,
No.
but
Um,
we can go on and on that. But Dwight, it's been great to get to know you and Rotary in general. I have been wanting to get active in our club here in town too. And for me, I've been traveling a little too much to be involved. So this gave me a way to be involved through Rotary, along with your project. So I've really enjoyed that aspect to be involved.
and let me just make sure that I'm clear on, we talked, sometimes I tell people that, and probably told this to Dwight, that, we're not going to go back out and beat the bushes for a 6 pump. We're not going to be contacting people, say, hey, we really need to put in a 6 pump, because at this point, we hope that the government, and we hope to demonstrate that if somebody does want to put in a pump, they will seriously consider. And when that comes about, I think we are, the process and the organization has been established as part of this. And so, we're more than willing to help with that. So it's a little bit different focus. If somebody is interested in, knows an organization that wants to donate a pump, then we can, tell them, advise them on that, and help them to the degree that we could be helpful. So I'm not going to come back to you asking for money, Charlie, but if you know somebody that needs
But you can train the trainer, for example. You can train the people who are wanting to go out and do this, and you've got the connections in place and you understand the process. Even if you were going into another country, then you really, really understand how that works now.
Well, that's true. Yes, I was thinking just in terms of Senegal, but the process that we learned is, of course, design outreach, contacts there, and again, they're very supportive, and this is what they do. And then finding a shipper to go to Senegal, which is send cargo, and then the Rotary Club there is a contact, and all the contacts with OFOR and whatever, so that we could help with that process, but also we have talked about other countries, or including sometimes we talk about the United States, putting a pump out someplace in the Southwest where they
and I would add to this, Sam had to pick and choose what he was going to put into this. One of the things that sort of got tossed was the weather conditions, because climate change is a hot topic today. It's being discussed, and there's no question that the climate is changing. And in Africa, where obviously we've been doing this work, the fundamental reality is the Sahara is moving south at a fairly rapid rate. And with that, the land dries out. I think it's now 8 months of no rain in Senegal, specifically. They do have 4 months of rain, but obviously that doesn't last, and then they have a problem, and that is reflected all across the Sahel of Africa. So it's not just that we have a great pump, which we do, or that we did a humanitarian project, but the reality is we're really trying to solve problems with this engineering, and with the help of our Rotary friends, because it's a serious issue.
And there is a scale issue, obviously, that and sometimes people say, well, how large a village can you support? And I think I forget what the international organization, but for a hand pump, you're really sort of limited to 1,000, a village of 1,000. You're not going to be able to. You're going to need more than one hand pump if it's more than that. So.
Yeah.
Or a different water supply. So
right. And so there's so much information out there, and there's so many different organizations working on it, but it's great to know how to get involved, to have somebody to have Sam, our engineer and rocket scientist. Yes, he in his past life was a rocket scientist. He didn't bring that up at all, but that's how I got to know him, and I just love it. I love it because you continue to give back, you can continue to solve problems. And that is kind of set in you as an engineer for sure. And then, working with other organizations and Dwight and myself, I know we care about others and we want to help, and we need some technical expertise along the way to push that through. We can do the talking to people and connecting with people as well, but we all have to work together, right? We have to understand the problems. We have to understand the governments. And so I just think that you're doing it the right way about getting the local people involved, training them and giving them those resources. So I love it. Thanks for letting me be involved. If y'all want to know a little bit more about, the project or Sam or Dwight, I'll put it in the show notes, how to get in touch with them. And I could go on and on. I just absolutely love the project, but for sake of the podcast, we'll let y'all share this and like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And then until next time, y'all be empowering.
Okay.
Thank you for your support, Charlie.
Yep.
Thank
And good
you.
luck in Uganda.
Yes. So as we wrap up, and this is being played, I will actually be in Africa for our Uganda mission trip. So between November, well, I won't say the dates, but towards Thanksgiving, I'll be back and I have lots to share on the podcast. So we will take a little break after this episode to let my team rest from EPIC, which is the Empowering Pumps and Industry Conference. It's going to be at Beaufort, Georgia at the Water Tower. So also it comes full circle. So when you were talking about, getting in front of groups, I'm like, why are you not at the Water Tower talking? So I missed that one, Sam. Okay, everybody, I'll do it again. Until next time, be empowering. See you later.